Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment in my Emacs for Writers series. In this video, we will do your first Emacs configuration. This is how you can begin to customize Emacs for your personal workflow. And it will be an ongoing effort as you continue down the path of Emacs mastery. You're taking your first step into a larger world. So let's get into it. Before we begin, I will mention that this educational video series is based on my Emacs for Writers handbook. If you want to follow along with the text, there is a link below where you can download the DRM free ebook available in the PDF and EPUB format. So check it out. Some key concepts we'll be discussing in this video: Emacs Lisp configuration language, configuration file loading at startup, balance between customization and productivity. Emacs is built and configured with a programming language called Emacs Lisp, which is a variant of an even older language called Common Lisp. But don't worry too much about that. You don't have to be an Emacs Lisp expert to start configuring Emacs, but learning the basics of Emacs Lisp can definitely pay dividends over the years as you're meticulously tweaking your Emacs environment. For demonstration, I have created a little starter configuration and I posted it on GitHub. So you can use this whole configuration if you'd like. It has some of my personal favorite config elements in it. But for now, we haven't learned about installing third-party packages in Emacs yet. So I'll just grab a few basic elements from here for now. So if you're new to open source programs in general, you may be unfamiliar with the concept of configuration files. Most of the conventional proprietary software on the market will have preference menus where you can configure your user settings from within the app itself. Emacs and a lot of other open source programs load your preferences from a file that you maintain yourself in your file system. So when Emacs starts up, it will do a search for your configuration file. There are a few different locations you can use to store your file, but I find the easiest place is right here in the user home directory. So you can see I already have one because when you install Emacs, it will create the .emacs configuration file right here. So the only caveat, of course, is that you have to name this file .emacs because that's the file that Emacs is going to search for. And it's a dot file because this is just a funny quirk of file managers. These little configuration files are often invisible by default unless you explicitly state in your file manager that you want it to show hidden files. Otherwise, any file that begins with a dot will be hidden. So now that you understand how the .emacs file works, let's actually open it up and make some changes in there. So the functions that I selected for the configuration here are pretty simple. This one disables the menu bar, which is these things up here. This one disables the toolbar, which is these icons here. And it also eliminates the scroll bars. And this function here, toggle frame maximized, will have Emacs expand to our full screen when we open it. So I'm going to go ahead and save the changes I made to the .emacs file. I'll close Emacs, and now when we open it again, we'll see it's going to look quite different. So yes, it still brought up the Emacs splash screen, but you can configure your Emacs to turn that off. But you'll see what it did. It disabled the menu bar and the toolbar, and we no longer have a scroll bar. So already you can see the whole Emacs environment looks a little more minimalist. It's becoming more of a distraction-free writing environment. And of course, there's much more you can do to make it even less distracting, more minimalist, or more maximalist, if that's what you like. You can really fill it up with a lot of extra stuff. And the other aspect of this that I'll demonstrate is, like I said, Emacs is a living environment, and because it's built with Lisp, you can actually edit the parameters of the program while you're using it, which is one of the things that makes it unique as a programming language. So if I wanted to bring the menu bar back, I can go into my config file, and instead of having to reload Emacs, I can just run that menu bar function with the 1 instead of a -1, and you see it brought the menu bar back. So you can actually customize and change Emacs on the fly while you're still using the program. So that's why, like I said again, it's a live environment. So there you go. That is how you can begin to customize your Emacs config. Before I close the video, I will caution you that configuring Emacs can be fun, but there are so many packages and options and variables that it can be very easy to let your config become a source of procrastination. So if you're in the middle of something important and you have an idea for something you want to change or configure, I'd say don't stop what you're doing, because it's easy to fall down a rabbit hole and you can lose track of what you were doing. I find it's helpful to instead just make a note of something that you may want to look into at the next opportunity, and that typically works for me. I've gone through many generations of config files, from very minimalist to very ornate, and over the years I've landed somewhere in the middle. And I don't do as much adjusting as I used to, so perhaps your journey will be similar. That's it for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and share the video with someone who you think may get some value out of it as you have. In the next video, we're going to learn about installing packages, so see you then.